Good afternoon. I hope that the lunch was good and that you are all energized. Glad to be here. We heard very nice events. We heard a lot of things, a lot of interesting talks. It's kind of hard to come at the end because many things have been done and you feel like you are repeating a number of things. But I will try to give a different spin in terms of what I will be talking about. I will talking about innovation and how we do innovation, especially in Silicon Valley. I am based here. We have about, from Panasonic, 150 people or so here in Silicon Valley. And we looked at innovation and how we can accelerate the pace of innovation in a big company like Panasonic. And that I will be talking about today. If I had to redo my presentation, I probably would change the title. I will probably use a title like what I have on the subtitle in this slide, which is Innovation or the Search for Meaning, because I think it's meaning is really important, and behind meaning there is a user, and that's really where a lot of radical innovation or disruptive innovation are coming from. We heard actually at the conference things like looking for a quest. We heard about vulnerability, and all these things are similar in some ways. It's really about meaning and how we can disrupt some areas that may be traditional, and I will talk about one in a case study that I will give, but by looking at it in a different way, finding meaning behind something that we have been doing, but where maybe we just scratch the surface. So this will be the content of my talk. I will end the talk by two case studies that will kind of ground a little more some of the concepts that I will present at the beginning, and then I will conclude. So first, I would like to start by this paragraph that was actually published recently by the Chief Innovation Officer of Dell. And what he said is that one of the things that we see in highly innovative companies that they have a very, very active feedback loop from their customer versus more traditional companies that might limit their engagement to social media. This feedback loop is what I will be talking about, and how we can use this feedback loop to be able to innovate better and innovate faster. And for that, there is not a magic recipe. There are a portfolio of tools, a portfolio of methods and approaches that we may want to use. And one of the key ingredients, actually, and that's why it's so difficult to innovate, is really about how to use them appropriately, how to combine them appropriately, and how to fit them to the particular context and the particular use case we are in. So first, I will talk about innovations. And it's really important to understand that innovation is a process. It's really important. We don't innovate by accident. It's really, there is a process behind. There is a disciplined approach. And that's something that we need to put in place to be able to innovate. If we look at innovation, there are many different ways to innovate. I come from a technology background. I worked for 15 years in speech recognition. Where what we were doing at the time is really about breakthrough technology, how we can make an algorithm the most robust as possible in a car environment, for example. It was really about trying to create breakthrough, and many have been created. That's one way to innovate. And through technology breakthrough, you can do some radical innovation. Another way to innovate is really market research, focus group, and so on. But as many of you, as you know, and it has been said many times in this conference, if you ask people what they want, they often don't know what they want or what they need. And that's really a limitation in terms of how we can innovate. And so generally, you end up with incremental innovation when you do these things. However, there is a kind of a new way that came up in the recent year, and actually I was very pleased to hear during the conference so many people talking about design. Design thinking and so on. It's really about design research. And design research has the power to be able to provide both, incremental and, radical innovation. What is design research is really about finding new meaning, to product and new usage. for example, the iPod or even the iPhone. Everybody knew about playing music. However, it was a new usage. How can you bring all your songs with you, and what can you do, when you do these things? It's really about also answering the question why the customer will buy. Technology often answers the how, but starting by the why is really, really powerful. And it's really innovating about making sense of things. And that's why I started with this notion of meaning. Finding meaning and redefining the meaning of things is really very, very powerful, to be able to innovate. People, buy and use product for deep reasons. What are these reasons? And that's really, a big part of the innovation process today. So, a number of people talked about, design thinking, and I will not talk, in length, about it. It's not the point today, but it's really about bringing together design research and, concept development, and ended up bringing solutions basically to the insights or to the meaning, that has been found, with, real users. So it's really about the conversion of needs into solution. Today it's changing, but still many companies are trying to innovate by taking the available choices and then trying to optimize them. Design thinking is really about creating new choices, things that did not exist before, and finding solutions to these needs and these new choices. So that's a new way to to innovate, and that's what design thinking brings to the table. Design thinking is really about bringing together a number of capability. You start usually by observations. You try to generate some insights. From the insight, you generate ideas. From ideas, you generate solution. You create prototyping, and then you iterate. And one of the key things around design thinking is really about how can you do it fast? How can you do it effectively? How can you do it with a small amount of money? And so before scaling your development, how can you validate this? And you can see that it's not the same people that are doing the observations usually from the people that are generating the idea or the people that are creating the solution. Diversity is a key word here. You need a diversity of style and to be able to create this capability inside the company. So it's really a multidisciplinary approach about how to do that. Something that is also very important to do is really integrating different disciplines that will lead to the creation of new business opportunity. For example, integrating together desirability, viability, and feasibility is really important. If you create a product and you don't understand what the market will bear or take in terms of cost, you can be completely outside basically the solution that need to be developed because it will not be marketable. So integrating these different capabilities is really important. And one of the key things that a number of people talked about during this conference is how to prioritize them, what is guiding what, and how to do it. And I believe that's one of the secret sauce, actually, in terms of how to innovate. So if we look at the trends, and it's not it has been, for a few years. And that's why, today, design thinking is at the forefront of what, we are doing. Is that the technology power has been decreasing, and to some extent, the brand power also, because customers have access to a lot of information, they are able to compare, and so on. They are very well informed. Technology, through open source, usability, software, and so on, is also widely available. It doesn't mean that we don't need to create new technology and create breakthrough, but that's the reality. It was not the case during the digital revolution. But today we went from scarcity to abundance. And now there is a lot of things that are available. So what is increasing is really the user power and the business power. And that's why there is a lot of innovation that is coming around the user, and there is a lot of innovation that is coming around the business model. Because that's really the thing that today are driving innovation. What is also very important is that because of that, there is now a hierarchy that is being established, in terms of what to prioritize when. And, today, what is very powerful, and that's the basis of a number of methods that are being kind of used and applied today, is really starting by the user, starting by the needs, starting by the problem, and guiding basically everything that you do, through this funnel, and not, starting about, technology. Another thing that is happening, and I would like to talk about another way of innovating that some people have been talking about also, it's lean startup-based method, or in other words that can be used is customer development. And customer development comes from, three trends, that, along the years, came to the forefront. The first one is the use of open source. The second one is the use of agile development method. The fact, the realization that in fact, we needed to deal with the uncertainty. We needed to deal with the ambiguity. There is nothing that is, in the past, because there was time to market, it was possible to be able to plan, to execute, and then to deliver. Today, the time to market is too fast. And that's why agile development methods, came to the forefront, allowing to pivot, allowing to change, during the development. And how do you change? You change by bringing the user. You change by bringing the feedback. In terms of validating early on, when you are not investing too much into what you are doing, that this is the right direction. And this change the complete approach. And that's the basis of what is called a lean startup. The biggest source of failure for startups is building things that nobody wants. More than the 70% of the startup fail because they think they have a great technology, but nobody wants it, or the market will not accept it. So again, bringing the user, bringing the market, the business at the forefront is really essential. Do you know that, for example, YouTube, starting as a dating site, that's how they started going into business. And then they are now, the site that we know today. So accepting and embracing serendipity, is really very important. So we need to have approaches, and innovation approaches that allows to do that, allow to embrace it instead of refusing it. And that's really important. So I would like to contrast, or to spend just a little time on contrasting the difference, between design thinking and customer development. The difference that I see is that, with the startups and the lean startup approach, there is urgency because, I have this amount of time, I have this runway, I have this amount of money to be able to make this happen. So urgency, drives, innovation speed. And that's why, startups innovate usually really fast because they don't have choice. That's their, survival. That's their, existence. So that's one difference. Both design thinking and customer development explore customer needs, but the origin of and speed in practice are quite different. Customer development or lean startup-based approach start with the vision of the founder in mind, at the beginning, or a product that they want to validate. Design thinking starts by the user and observations and try to get some insights and try to get some solutions out of it, but it starts from trying to understand. Usually in a lean startup approach, you start with an hypothesis and then you try to validate it very quickly, which is usually the image of the final product. Now I would like to talk about another technique that we are using to be able to bring all these things together. Speed, no question, is very important. And methods like design thinking, lean startup, customer development are valuable if you really can create speed. And how do we create speed? There are a number of different ways of doing that. But open innovation is one way to create speed. And an open innovation is a way that we have been practicing along these years, to be able to understand how do we do these things quickly and very quickly without spending, a lot of money. So the way, we innovate it's really about, how to bringing kind of open innovation into this, framework, and being here, leveraging, Silicon Valley and working with the Valley, which is really a network model, to be able to bring, this, partnership or this co-development to be able to, to go faster. But at the end of it, and some people, mention it, it's all about people and diversity. A lot, you will be successful, at innovation if you have the right people and if you can cultivate this diversity that will make, innovation happen. And the leading forces, that are in accelerating, I would say, and it has been for a few years, open innovation is globalization. Today, we can work with any country in the world, and of course, time difference, it's an issue. But in what we do, we work with Eastern Europe, we work, with India, we work with, anybody that really brings the expertise that we need. Now geography is not anymore kind of, an issue. And that's really is encouraging, open innovation. What is also, accelerating it is technology speed, and integration. Shorter product cycle, time to market, it's faster. But also increased complexity of the R&D process, because, it's more and more necessary to be able to build on the top of things that exist, to be able to be competitive. New business model. And new business model come often from alliances, from being able to bring together, partners, to be able to make it happen. And finally, and very importantly, leveraging knowledge. Open source development encourage, basically the sharing of resources. The risks that will be managed, though, and when you practice, open innovation, many of these things are buzzwords, but at the end of it is really understanding, how to execute it and how to make it happen. That is really important. And to be able to do that, you have to do it. It's not something that you will learn in a book. Definitely there is an increased complexity that need to be managed, around it. It's important also, especially when you partner, not to be short-sighted, but to try to, when you partner, to look for, extension of yourselves. And that's really very important because, innovation can be successful or not, depending if the people you are collaborating, are, extension of yourself or not. The transition to open innovation also for a company can be painful because you really need to have people that are facing outward. Engineer often likes to work on their computer, on their things. They may not be, if you have this, kind of, character or way of working, you may not be the best, to be able to deal with innovation. So having the right people to be able to do these things is really important. And it takes time to understand it right, and to have effective results. So it's important to be patient. So around these different methods, we have been developing, it's a method that we call this open collaborative innovation method. And we often say, Silicon Valley, make Silicon Valley and the world your own laboratory. It's really important to think outside your wall. And really, and when we started practicing and doing this, we realized that in fact, we were not limited by the resources or the knowledge that we had. And if you start with this state of mind, it changes completely everything. I will talk about some case study later on, that will, kind of emphasize, kind of these things. So the model that we developed is really a model that encapsulates a number of different things. We don't follow it, kind of line by line. It has to be adapted to the cases that we, talked about. But it starts by something that was talked about. What are the mega trends? What are, the forces? That are, driving basically the area that we are, looking into. And that's what I, call the focus area. We do this, through talking to venture company. We have also a corporate venture group, that is, bringing kind of, venture company to be able to understand what's the landscape. University are also a good source to do that. So we need to understand where things are going, not today, but maybe in 5 years from now. And this gives us, some indication in terms of where we need to focus. Then, we have exploratory projects, often that we call, for, seed finding, to try to understand a little more kind of, this space. Something that is very important is really clarifying the problem. And clarifying the problem is really linked to the needs I was talking about. What are we focusing on? This really help, trying to guide everything that is coming after. Customer development, when we have an idea, when we have an insight, and then, we want to validate an assumptions, then that's where, we go to the customer and then try to validate it early on, even sometime before building it. And that's really very important to be effective. You don't need in $100,000 to be able to validate an idea. Often, like the talk that we heard from Adobe, for example, $1,000 may be enough. You don't need to build it to be able to validate. This is a different state of mind. That you need to create a different culture because engineer wants to build. And that's a completely different way of seeing things. Then there is. After you validate and you kind of your direction, there is this concept development or this prototyping. Here, the key thing is to do it in weeks or in days. To be able to do it. By validating. By building on the top of what exists. And then there is a real technologies that will solve the problem. But we see that as compared to what we were doing kind of a few years ago, we shift the pyramid. From the top to the bottom. We start, by the needs. We start by the user. We incorporate the user in the development, and then, we bring the means that is a technology when we know exactly, what we need to do. And in this model, I often say speed is more important than to be 100% right, and that's really, very, very true. I really believe it very strongly. In big company, very often. We want it to be right before starting anything. We want to have the $100 million business, before starting anything. How can you know if you didn't do it? Nobody can answer it. That's the best way to kill any idea. So the key thing is to be able to bring a culture, bring a framework in the company that allows to deal with this uncertainty and to accept and to embrace uncertainty instead of having uncertainty blocking you. So let me talk about, two case studies that will give you a flavor of some of the things that I am talking about. One, it's about a remote control that we developed kind of a few years ago, and that shows kind of a new way of looking at things. And the second one is something that we call on for today that we actually released to market 2 months ago. So because I don't have much time, let me play a video that will show you basically what this remote control is about. And that will give you kind of a flavor of what it is, and then I will comment on it. And I will stop the video in the middle because I don't have. So what we came up with is in fact a remote control that are 2 touchpads. There are some buttons, but they are just for legacy. We don't need even any button, in terms of what the remote control can do. The UI is on the screen. And the touchpad are clickable. So when you put your finger on the touchpad, basically the UI will come and you will be able to navigate on the UI. It's a two-handed remote, so you will be able to do things like zoom, for example. You will be able to do things like entering characters. So a lot of things that you want to do on a remote control. And why, we came up with something completely different. And what is interesting to understand is that why we came up with this and how we came up with this. If we had to redesign the remote control, we would be at the same level as we are today, kind of in many of the remote control. We'll put the button in a different way, we'll take out some of the buttons and so on. We try to understand basically what we wanted to do with the remote control. At the time, it was about kind of the TV being connected to the internet. It was about new content coming to the TV. And it was about the realization that today a few years ago you knew the content that was on TV that was the different channels. But because of the TV being connected to the internet, then suddenly you don't know anymore what the remote control will control because the content will vary and will evolve and so on. We also realize that we need to be able to enter character, and that's why we have these two touchpads that you can click on because we have two hands, to be able to, to enter character. So we came up with a completely different paradigm because we grounded it, in terms of, the needs out there. It was nothing at all about technology. It was really about trying to understand better, what it is. We worked with, Stanford University to try to look at the space, to try to do a few experiments. When we came up with the idea of a touchpad, we didn't have any expertise at all. We just brought it in. We worked with people that had expertise. And that's what I mean making Silicon Valley your laboratory, or the world your laboratory. You're not limited by your expertise anymore. You are just limited by your imagination of what you can do. And that's really powerful because suddenly, you can do anything. Yeah, but you just need to be able to have an understanding of process and so on to be able to make it happen. Every 3 weeks, we developed a prototype, and we validated with user. We got feedback. The first one had one touchpad, and we realized maybe two would be better when we kind of looked at user and how they were using it. And that's how, we build a solution. We never would have come up with this solution by imagining it. The users helped us, and the user kind of told us, and the understanding of the area told us. The extension of this is that TV today is what it was, 20 years ago. A lot of people today are reimagining, are trying to understand what can we do with TV. And the best way to do it is to try to understand why people are watching TV. What their fundamental, the meaning behind it, to be able to really reimagine completely the user experience. The second example that I would like to talk about is something that we call, On for Today, which is about a system that is helping seniors being more independent and socially engaged. Again, I will play just the beginning of the video, and then I have 2 more slides I would like to talk about.
Introducing On for Today by Panasonic. Seniors can effortlessly view a personalized calendar, receive pictures, messages, or videos, as well as video chat with their loved ones. On for Today is designed to keep seniors independent, connected, and engaged. Seniors can see and be reminded of all the important events. Thanks to On for Today, all of their friends.
So, this is basically a cloud service really connected to a display that allows seniors to be more independent through events. You tend to forget things when you get older, to be able to engage with family members, with friends, with professional caregiver. But what we're trying to do here, and that's just the beginning, when you get older, your world tends to get smaller. Using technology, we're trying to make their world bigger. We're trying to build community. We're trying to give back meaning, to seniors. Meaning because they lose a sense of purpose. How can we use technology to try to do that? We are at the beginning, and we have a number of different functionality, but that's the big kind of vision and the thing that we are working on. Trying to understand what makes senior healthier through give them back meaning, purpose, because they want to help and they have a lot of capability. So here, the benefit of open innovation and the customer development, we started by the user. We worked with one person that had Alzheimer's and dementia. We didn't have any idea about what to do in terms of technology. We just focused on her needs. She was forgetting things. She was writing many notes. She was getting confused. We brought a calendar. Then we realized that loneliness was a big issue. We brought communication capability. This, from the ground up, came up in terms of solving the need and brought it back meaning, to this person, and then it grew from there. Co-innovation with the customer, co-innovation with a partner, the notion of ecosystem, the notion of product market fit was at the center about from what we have been doing. So the thing that I wanted to say, and this is my last slide, is that really focusing on unmet needs, in search for new meaning, grounds, the subsequent phases, and it's really important in terms of, how to innovate these days, incorporating, this, customer feedback in the process. Communication, connection, and engagement at all the level, I think it's key, for innovation. Outward facing, is essential, today if you want to innovate. And diversity that I mentioned in some cases of background, ideas, approaches is necessary to be able to be successful. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jean-Claude. Very interesting work going on at Panasonic. We probably have time for one question, and then we'll set up for the panel. So let's see what we get from Slido. Which one? You pick one. I'll let you pick which one you'd like to answer.
Well, I can take the first one. It's the business power. I think it depends what we mean by business power. But something that I talked about is the business model. I think business model innovation is really very, very important. At the end of it, when you can have a bright idea, you need to know how to make money out of it. And that's one thing. Brand power, it's something different. I think the brand power helps in terms of partnering, in terms of bringing things to market. An example of brand power. Maybe I can give an example that is not even Panasonic. Tesla announced recently the storage inside the home, and that shows the power of the brand. And not of business, because Solar City. Elon Musk is the chairman of Solar City. Solar City has had storage already for a number of months. Nobody paid attention to it. When Tesla announced storage in the home, at least from the words of Elon Musk, they have 800 million orders in 1 month that were placed. That's brand power. Nothing to do with business power.
Very good. Thank you very much, Jean-Claude.
Thank you.